Don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it. Hello there. Now, I know a lot of you haven't been enjoying the Harry Potter content, but this is the final video upgrading the display. And it's actually going to be a very interesting video because I want to build a Hogwarts that rivals the Disney Castle. And the Disney Castle is an amazing set, but let's go over and take a look. So, it's been a while since I have done this more vlog style content, but the Hogwarts Castle, which hopefully you can see just behind me, isn't looking too great at the minute. And it is a load of the modular sets, not necessarily ones that should go together, just sort of mismatched into some sort of cube that originally fit in the unit just down here, where we've now got the better Hogwarts display. And if you want to take a look at that, you can check out the last 3 weeks worth of videos that we've had on the channel. But I'm going to bring this to the desk and hopefully get it looking a bit more like the Disney Castle from the outside, because at the minute it is just a sandy cube and it doesn't look too good on display. In fact, before I do anything, I should probably move this year's advent calendar. Did I say this year's? This is the one that I'm opening this year, but it's actually from 2022. And then very gently, don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it. We made it in one piece. So just to reiterate again, at the minute it's looking like something from the Minecraft movie with the regular size minifigures, but very blocky appearance. And from the outside, it's not our finest work here on the channel. I mean, you could probably only tell it's Hogwarts by the color theme and the odd giant clock. Now, the image that I'm using for this is actually this one here from the Puzzle Academy. So I'll have a better image on the screen, but I think that could look really well and gives the silhouette of the castle across by only using, well, the Great Hall is here and that's 3 blocks wide, and then we've got another 3, so we can have a 3 blocks wide Great Hall, which I think did come with a roof in the original set, and then have a nice tower going up the middle, and then a few of the 2x buildings on the right hand side. And for any of you Star Wars fans that are perhaps watching this video and want a bit of Star Wars sprinkled in, I do have plans at some point. I was hoping to do it next year. We will see how the year falls out. To build some sort of Yavin Ceremony-esque Master Builders Jedi Temple. Now, it won't be soon. We're looking at the second half of next year, and we'll have to see what Lego sets they come out with. I'm really hoping they don't come out with a Jedi Temple set. But at the same point, I'd really love one from Lego. Anyway, I'm thinking of building a Jedi Temple in this similar modular style with different rooms, and then actually very similar to the one we put in the city, just much bigger. So if that's something you would like to see, drop a like on this video. And if this does well, perhaps we'll be building a Jedi Temple before you know it. Now, the hard part with this build is I forgot to Technic clip these in, but most of these are clipped in with Technic elements, which can be a pain when you're trying to break it down and it's all connected to each other. I mean, the tiles and plate pieces that they use to connect these have a hard time coming off as it is, but hopefully this will be a fairly easy transition, although I'll still have to pop off all these bricks. How many of you actually remember these 2 students here, which are me and my fiance from, I don't think I've shown them off for ages, but as we've both got Marvel figures, I think Star Wars figures in the city, we had to have some in Hogwarts. Row 2, can it pop off? Well, that one's gone even worse. I didn't even think that was possible. Now, I know Hogwarts have changed or updated their modular Hogwarts and are just coming out with a ton of buildings that they've already done, but I wonder how different it is to this old system. If you've got some of the newer Harry Potter sets, let me know, do you prefer it to the older waves? Did you collect the older waves, or is it really that different at all? And last but not least, yeah, I don't think this is coming off in one. Now we have just a ton of Hogwarts rooms, and I'll be honest, I really don't know where to start. I guess the best thing to do, because we said we would have the Great Hall on the left hand side, is probably to take off this section and add it to the other side. But if I'm being honest here, this is probably the easy part. Now, I don't know if I should be connecting these with Technic or perhaps connecting every other level, because I feel like they should be connected with Technic, but whilst I'm playing around, it could be a bit long if I'm connecting and disconnecting every single room every time I want to move something around. And because the tower is apparently going to be the clock tower, I don't think there is a better piece than a massive clock to add as the tower. And perhaps we can add the roof back to this as well. I think it makes sense that the medical bay is the bottom level opposite the Great Hall, although you are running from the Great Hall to the medical bay. I guess if there are any emergencies, that makes sense. Because I'm sure these are going to be the bottom layers, I think I will connect this and perhaps regret it later. Now, to build it up, I don't really know how many pieces we have. So we'll probably want this section not to be... You know what? This section might even work just being one high. But then we've got like a million other rooms to stack above the Great Hall. I think there was a classroom. This classroom here works above the Great Hall because the Great Hall is meant to have massive windows, and at the minute they're only one layer. Perhaps these would go underneath the Great Hall, actually. I might switch it up already. I so should not have connected them with pins. But you know what? The Great Hall does have a little roundhouse on the outside. And though it's not a roundhouse, this round window would work really well. Let's take off Draco, Myrtle, and Nick, because where these go really depends on what floors are higher up. Perhaps we can even have Draco on the outside. Alright, now we've got to re-disconnect these. 2, 3, 2, 1. You know what? 3 pieces. I call that success. And now we are going to connect these with pins yet again, because I clearly do not learn my lesson the first time round. And I think I'm actually going to spin this around so that the exterior is a big grand reveal, even though we've still got a ton of the roofs to build. Now, as you can see, we've put Professor Flowy Cape's office next to Professor Flowy Cape's classroom. I can't remember all these names. My brain is full of Star Wars characters. This is Professor Flowy Cape, by the way, because he has a rubber cape element in one of the brand new sets. But my fiance would be screaming at the screen right now. And then we've got the Grand Hall not on the floor level, which does seem weird, but we already modified this. I think this was over to the left, or it might have half sat on the original base, which sticks out by 3 studs, which can either be removed at a later point, or we can extend the classrooms and get an extra 2 students sat at a desk. We do want to keep this level as low as we can, so I'll probably try my best to end it there, but then we'd have to build up the Great Hall even more. And I'm thinking perhaps we can go one more level and add this room over on the end, but let's make sure we've got enough Technic pins first. I might have to go and grab my drawer of Technic pins because I have a massive drawer just full of the black ones. We could probably have, if we move this next to the Great Hall, we can actually have that brickwork connection that I speak so highly of recently. I didn't even realize I'm connecting a pin to another pin. Why are Harry Potter builds so fragile? And then that works quite nicely. So we've got all the different proclamations at the end of the hallway, which is outside the Great Hall. And then we've got the room of requirement in between. I'm a genius. Well, the more I think on it, the more that doesn't work. But then on top of this, we're going to have this little owl. You know what? The little owl can stay there. We'll have the bathroom next to Fluffy's Encounter. That's such a Star Wars name for a set. And these 2 can go here. Now, I realize a problem with me having built this. And that problem is because of 3 of these went across, well, right up against the top of the unit. They no longer have their 1x4 modified plates on them. So I'm going to have to modify this back. Hopefully, no one will be any wiser. Well, besides you watching this video, there should definitely be something bridging this gap, but I'm not sure I have a plate wide enough. Alright, this seems to be the longest plate I own, and it falls too short. Well, I sure hope this works and doesn't just collapse on me. Well, does it make me feel a little better? Absolutely not. But now's not the time to be worrying about clock towers collapsing. In fact, there's not really any good time to be worrying about clock towers collapsing. Now's the time to get some roofs on this and get it looking more like Hogwarts Castle rather than just Hogwarts column. For the roof of this thing, I have gone with 2 sets. There's probably about 5 or 6 sets that are actually taking up the body of this. But for the roofs, I've chosen to take the Great Hall roof for the Great Hall side. I think that makes the most sense. I really like the height that we've given to the Great Hall by giving it 2 extra levels. And then the roof is going to give it that bit more height. And then we can decide whether we should make the tower even taller. And that will be a future MOC using my own pieces. For the tower, we then want it to be taller than the Great Hall roof. But in the same set, we get a little astronomy tower, which goes above Professor Flushy Cape's office, which again, can't remember the name. It's gonna come back to me when editing this video. However, that can go on top of the clock tower. It's not the actual clock tower roof, but I realize all of these pointy roofs look identical in Lego. Now, they're not identical, but they definitely look it, especially from that far away. That's like a couple meters, and you're not even going to see it in most videos. So I think that's going to look good. And it also gives us the little astronomy tower with the whole scene, with Dumbledore, with Harry, with Snape. You know the one that I'm talking about, and everyone else that we're not going to be able to fit up there. But it's nice to have the astronomy tower in the Hogwarts castle. Now, the other roof needs to be a smaller roof, something that doesn't stand out as much, but still looks like Hogwarts castle. And Fluffy's Encounter, again, probably not the official name of the set, but the name we're giving it here on the Master Moldy channel comes with a roof that is probably only like 3 or 4 blocks tall, and it is perfect to extend the height of both the astronomy tower and also the Great Hall, because this is meant to be about half the size. So we're looking at 2 and a little bit levels compared to the almost 4 levels, maybe even 4 something levels of the Great Hall. So that's going to go perfectly. I'm just very intrigued to see how high the astronomy tower is going to end up. We might need to extend it just a little bit, but let's get these roofs built. All right, it's now quite a bit later in the day, and 2 podcasts later, I have finally done the roof of Hogwarts, and I think this looks pretty awesome. Now, it's not entirely accurate to the 2 sets of instructions that I was using. I have mixed a few things up, and mainly the biggest difference is actually this spire here. The interior hasn't been too well flushed out because we could be here all day with all the references I could add. We have a whole drawer of other Hogwarts bits from the Advents and bits we've taken from the other different roofs, because each of these sets came with their own roofs, which I think might have been a flaw of the whole modular system. But without further ado, check out the exterior of Hogwarts. I mean, the tower's definitely a lot taller than the Great Hall part, and maybe at some point we can flush the exterior so that the windows are stretched rather than all the different exteriors. But like I said, we've got this little round bit for the outhouse down here. We've got all the windows of the Great Hall and even a little bit at the top just to give it that extra bit of height. We've got the tower, which has the clock tower, the astronomy tower, and every other tower in between. And then we've got this other building here. I have no idea what this building is meant to represent, but it's the one next to the Great Hall that we saw on the image later. So I'll have an image up of what this is meant to look like, and hopefully you can see some resemblance. But now it is time to move this very, very fragile Lego model. All the Technic beams are in, but if this thing drops, it will disintegrate, a bit like the new Malfoy Manor. If you weren't aware, the Malfoy Manor is only 4 blocks deep, and if you look at the corners, you can see there are only some 1x2 and 1x1 towers which aren't connected to each other. So this thing's going to be fragile. But before we move it onto the display behind, I did add the Disney Castle into the title. So let's take a look at both of them and see how they compare. Yeah, this thing is not being moved. So I think the best thing we can do is actually put this on display and then take a look at them side by side. The lighting isn't going to be great, but I think it's the easiest way to compare the both of them. 3, 2, 1. Don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it. Houston, we have a problem. So it turns out the castle doesn't actually fit in our room on the display that it is. So I'm going to have to take off the very tip and hopefully it will now fit. Oh, it's going to be close. Take a look at this. So as you can see, the Hogwarts castle is definitely almost as tall as the Disney castle. Now the Disney castle isn't on a minifigure display. So we do have to take that into consideration when looking at the heights of them. The Hogwarts castle is probably about this tall on the Disney castle. Just in case you do own the Disney castle, you will know how tall that is. This thing is so tall, we originally had to remove the tip off it, which you can see we've now got the Hogwarts one on top because I don't remember where I put that, but I definitely have the spare pieces to build it if I do want to. But originally, this unit was on some chunky feet, probably about this tall, and that meant that the Disney castle was against the ceiling. But we have since removed them. They weren't really that stable with this much Lego, and now it's a good thing we did. Otherwise, we'd have to remove the top roof of the Hogwarts tower. Now, there is a bit of glare from the light. You will have to excuse that. Perhaps we can come over to minimize it. But I think the Hogwarts castle, we've got the Great Hall section here, the tower up the middle, a little sticky out bit for the outhouse, and then if you do know what that part of the Hogwarts tower is meant to represent, definitely let me know down in the comments. And a bit of rock work at the bottom. Perhaps we can have some stairs coming down, and then we can even set up the new boathouse on the corner here, which could look really, really well. But this is the Hogwarts section, the Harry Potter Wizarding World. We have the Haunter, we have Hedwig, Dobby, the Stag. Really like these buildable creatures. These all are my fiance's likely Hogwarts sets, but I think that looks so cool. It's definitely going to need a little bit of touching up on the outside just to get it looking really, really good. But I think using the Lego sets as a base, that does look pretty cool. It'd be interesting to see something similar with a Disney castle with all the different princess towers and stuff to make a giant modular one, but Lego are struggling to chug along with a Harry Potter one as it is. Like I said earlier on in the video, if you want to check out the other display without the tinsel in the way, check out the videos from the last 3 weeks. But I think that is a stun for Harry Potter on this channel for the foreseeable future, unless we get a ton more Lego sets, towards Christmas and in the new year. We will definitely be targeting Star Wars, but just how cool would a Jedi Temple MOC look on the left side? Obviously, it probably would cover some of the minifigures and would have to rehome everything over on the left-hand side here. But how cool would a Jedi Temple MOC look next to the Disney castle, the Hogwarts castle? There's probably even some other Star Wars buildings that would look really, really cool there. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And thank you so much to anyone that has watched all 4 episodes of the Minecraft display. If you wanted to see something not Minecraft, I do have a whole playlist of Lego City videos, which I'll leave on screen now. And I'm also working on the Minecraft display, so I'll leave the video, or the live stream, in fact, of that. We got so much work done. But next year, there's going to be a ton more Star Wars. Stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you are into your Lego. And may the bricks be with you always. All right, football time.